Just want to let everyone know there are some pews up in the balcony for those coming in, and you can get to the balcony through the door over here and up the stairs. Also, if you can move toward the center so that late arrivers will have room. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to this service where we will remember and celebrate the life of Jenny Decker. During this service, you will hear stories of Jenny's life as we remember her and celebrate her life. After the service, there will be a reception in the fellowship hall, which is just outside these doors. There's a breezeway, and just follow it down that way and then turn right. There'll be a fellowship hall. There'll be an open mic, and you'll be able to continue to share memories and stories of Jenny's life. Also, we have cards that you can share a memory on, and those cards, they're in the back, in the narthex, and they will be shared with the family. So thank you for being here to remember and celebrate. Also, thank you for being here in this space where grief is shared, where loss is experienced as a community, where we are here to support one another during times of deep difficulty and of loss. So thank you for being here, for surrounding this family with your prayers and with your presence, with your words of sympathy. I know it means so much to them. We've also come to give thanks to God for Jenny, for the beautiful life she lived, for the beautiful person she was. And let us begin our time together with a prayer. Let us pray. Eternal God, your love for us is everlasting. You alone can turn the shadow of death into the brightness of the morning light. Calm our troubled hearts and surround us with your peace this day. Amen. We begin our service today with an anthem from the choir, Turn, Turn, Turn.
Time for every purpose under heaven. Hello, everyone. Thank you, all of you, for coming today to help us share our memories and to celebrate Jenny's life. I'm short. I'm Jenny's younger sister, Carol, and all four of our siblings are here today, which is really rare. And I hold close to my heart 6 decades of memories. So difficult to choose what to share. Hopefully I won't go on too long. So Jenny was 4 years older than me, and I considered myself very lucky that she took me under her wing while we were growing up, and she became a role model. For example, I helped with school government because she had. And when I was in junior high, I would tag along on many of Jenny's high school adventures, looking forward to my own future at the high school. And Jenny liked to please others, and we had a lot of fun through the years, baking elaborate birthday cakes, especially for our grandparents. And during the holidays, we gave out dozens and dozens of Christmas cookies to friends, literally dressed up like elves. So Jenny was a natural leader, and she loved sharing her enthusiasm to inspire others. And we both joined Girl Scouts, and she took me on my first backpack trip, and we were super involved in our church youth group. And when I think about how much Jenny accomplished, I think more about what motivated her. And at a very young age, Jenny was already incredibly energetic, and which drove her to do so much throughout her life, right? And her extraordinary verbal gifts opened so many doors. And she was very goal-oriented, ambitious, and loved to socialize, right? And she also had a competitive side to her. She liked to play board games, and she liked to win. So she was athletic. So in high school, she joined the San Diego Zilak Rowing Club, which, by the way, our grandmother belonged to. That was odd. And we would get up, or she would get up, not me, she would get up at 5 a.m. every morning to practice with her rowing team and eventually competing in the regional and national regattas. That was a huge part of her high school. So we both developed a thrill for travel and for the outdoors, and thanks in part to our mom, who planned our many family camping trips. And Jenny and I joined the San Diego Ski Club, and to ski at Mammoth, we would drive the 8 hours up and down Highway 395 in our parents' 1972 VW bus between San Diego and Mammoth. Well, in Mammoth, we stayed in a converted World War II Quonset hut for all of $5 a night. So we loved those ski trips, even when things went awry. And for example, on my dad's last ski trip, he suffered a spiral leg fracture. And needless to say, he could not drive our van home. Well, so Jenny very quickly had to learn how to drive a stick shift. So while our van was badly jerking and our dad laid out in the back, writhing in pain, our next door neighbor, Dana Tilson, who should be here today, I believe, joined us on that trip. And thankfully, she helped to keep Jenny awake that night until late into the night, all the while singing hits like Rhinestone Cowboy. So Jenny and I made that same trip later in her orange VW Bug many, many times. And during one whiteout blizzard, we had to physically hold the door shut for the entire drive home because it had been hit and damaged during the trip. So Jenny also led Sierra Club trips, and one turned out unexpectedly treacherous as we slowly cross-country skied down steep ravines in icy conditions. And she eventually made it back, we eventually made it back to our cars, skiing in the pitch black dark, no flashlights. So Jenny could be brave and tenacious. And as many of you know, those traits served her well as she backpacked across the Sierras in more recent years. And Jenny was a very persuasive person. And in college, she gave a series of very persuasive speeches to win the Rotary Club's Academic Scholarship Award to study abroad for a year. And she chose Spain surprisingly, because she knew that her great-grandfather had lived there as a naval attaché. And before and after that year, Jenny spent the summers traveling independently, the first with her older sister, Mary, through the Middle East, and the second with me as we camped throughout Western Europe in a different VW Bug, and we traveled throughout the Soviet Union with a student tour. And at that time, many countries and peoples were trapped behind the communist Iron Curtain. So to go from West Berlin to East Berlin, Jenny and I passed through the Berlin Wall, through the notorious Checkpoint Charlie, which was unnerving at that time. And then we continued by train to Warsaw, Poland, to visit a friend of Jenny's who she had met in Spain. And to help her friend, we smuggled precious food, toothpaste, and Time magazines rolled up and stuffed under our clothing as we passed through the border security checkpoint. So, Time magazines were clandestine information. So yes, Jenny was brave and valued helping others. So by the way, after a year in Spain, Jenny came back fluent in Spanish, playing Spanish guitar. Jenny was super musical and dabbled in a lot of musical instruments growing up, which gave her ongoing joy throughout her life. And when Jenny was in Spain, I was attending UC Davis, and eventually that helped to influence her to attend the UC Davis Law School. She chose law partly because she knew a great-great-grandfather had been a lawyer. She was very close with our grandfather and heard a lot of family stories. So she specialized in environmental law after having worked for the EPA for a few years, and of course, due to her love of the outdoors. And as the years went by, Jenny continued her infectious enthusiasm for life, especially as we both became mothers. And she chose to stay here in Davis to raise her family, and she loved being a mom, and of course, hoped to be a grandmother someday. She had looked forward to her retirement with so many more plans for more adventures. And we will all dearly miss our Jenny.
Thank you, Carol. The microphone is just right. I'm Louise Lucas, and I'm from San Diego. And I'm old enough and experienced enough to know that there is no predicting how grief is going to meet you when it comes. You may feel horror, you may feel trauma, you may feel sadness, you may feel relief, you may feel giddiness, you may feel all of the above in the span of 10 minutes. I have been surprised with Jenny's passing at the degree to what I'm feeling is anger. I've had some really choice words from my creator. What? You're taking Jenny? That fountain of joy, that friend of all friends, what are you thinking? But I'm not up here. We're here to celebrate, right? So for now, we're going to celebrate. But nobody gave me any instructions about the reception. So if you're feeling cranky too, you need to air some grievances, vent some venom, indulge in a little fury fest, come find me. It's a very green dress. I'm hard to miss. But for now, let's reset. Hi. I'm Louise Lucas, and I am Jenny's favorite. And I need to change my glasses. Hang on. Oops, sorry. So, soon after Jenny died, Brother Ben posted a cute picture of her and a childhood photograph and suggested that we all bring back cat-eye glasses in her honor. So what do you think? Did I meet the assignment? Yeah. Good. Now I know Jenny would never go for the rhinestones, but I have never been able to resist anything shiny, so I think she'd give me a pass. Okay, a second ago when I said that I am Jenny's favorite, I'm pretty sure I felt some jaws clench and heard a couple of brains go zzz, 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 zzz. Who is this woman, this San Diegan? Who does she think she is? I'm Jenny's favorite. Well, if you're one of those people, I see some nodding. If you're one of those people, you know what, you're probably right. One of Jenny's many magical attributes was her ability to make each of us feel special, treasured, heard, loved. Asking Jenny who her favorite was like asking her which of her kids is her favorite. They all are. We all are. So you all are my co-favorites. We're good? I met Jenny in 1972 when I was starting the 7th grade. She was in the 8th grade, and I joined her existing cadets Girl Scout troop. And as naturally as fall follows summer, Jenny and I became friends, playmates, allies, and occasionally co-conspirators. Over the following years, we were in the same school clubs and in the same school government, and we rowed in the same, on the same rowing team, and we were involved in the same church youth group. When Jenny left for college here in Davis, it never occurred to me that she was going to stay and make her life here. So I don't think it was her plan either at first. So we never said goodbye. We just adjusted to the distance. I thank God, yes, you thief. I thank God that in the years since then, we've had many, many opportunities to be in the same place at the same time. We got married in the same year and attended each other's weddings. We had our children in the same span of time. My family lived in Sacramento for 5 years. Our high school classes of 77 and 78 decided to merge their reunions. So she came to San Diego for those. And then more recently, family members and friends fell into the habit of dying, and Jenny would come to San Diego with another set of picture boards to honor them. But she also threw one whopper of a birthday party for our friend Carol Simpson's 90th. I learned a lot from Jenny along the way. I've been studying Duolingo Spanish for a few years. And Jenny tried to teach me that in Spanish, nouns that end in I-O-N are always feminine. She tried to teach me, but I'm dense, I'm thick. So now, Duolingo reminds me with regularity that verbs end in I-O-N, and every time I get that error clunk, I get to think of Jenny again. 50 years ago, she taught me not to take up snow skiing. It seemed that every season she was in the hospital for the next skiing injury. In those days, you would spend weeks in the hospital after surgery and then months in a plaster cast. Well, I thought I had fun going to visit her in the hospital and signing those casts, but I never did see the fun in the skiing. In spite of her history, that history, we all know Jenny for the strength of her legs, right? All that skiing and rowing, hiking and backpacking. Well, I'm here to testify that her arms were pretty great too. From time to time in high school, we felt the need to demonstrate our affection for various boys by toilet papering their houses. You could get toilet paper in colors in those days. Peach and green were the rarest, so we reserved those for our most beloved targets. I was a good miscreant because I'm small and I could look so innocent. But Jenny had those attributes too. Plus, she had power. Jenny could lob a roll of toilet paper over the roof of a 2-story house. She was fabulous. Can I just take a minute to mention how glad I am to be on this side of these glasses? I don't know how you all are looking at me with a straight face. The other thing about Jenny's arms is that they were perfect for holding things. Babies, children, us. How many of us got wrapped up in one of Jenny's incredible hugs? How many of us would wait in a long line in the heat to get another? How many of you thought of Jenny as a second mother? How many of us never thought twice about leaving our children in her care? Well, let's talk about her kids. You three, right there. Jenny's magic is manifest in you. I asked her if she would leave you to me. She just laughed and said, I know, right? And that answer told me everything. It acknowledged that you are worth wanting, that I'm not the only one who would adopt you, that you actually don't need guardians, that you're awesome, awesome people. Proud is not a big enough word for how much she loved and appreciated you. I, for one, am blown away by how you met her every need this past year. You came together. You showed up. You did research, you made phone calls, you turned fear into action. You rearranged your schedules. You changed your plans. And somehow, at the same time, you kept going with your own lives. Laura worked remotely while maintaining the home front. Anna finished her thesis, defended her thesis, and graduated with her doctorate in evolutionary biology. John landed and got going in his medical residency. And in his spare time, he had a proper, joyful wedding with his perfect Megan. You guys, you kept Jenny going through your own vibrant living. And you gave her and us almost an entire year. Thank you for taking such phenomenal care of our treasured friend. Thank you for allowing me into the pain to try to help, to visit, and to speak here today. I have a modest token of my appreciation for you, each of you, a discreet reminder of how highly Jenny thought of you. That's why I have the box. Here we go. For those of you in the back, and in the far back, in the Sierras, and in San Diego, and in Virginia, and in Scotland, and wherever else you may be, and for all of you here, these delicate little medallions have a picture of a goat, a billy goat, and the words, greatest of all time. Thank you again for letting me be here. And maybe as I present these to you, my co-favorites will give you a well-earned round of applause.
All right, now we get to sing a song together. And I think it's a song we're going to need to stand up for. So please stand in body or in spirit. There should be a purple hymnal in the pew rack in front of you. And if you'll take that purple hymnal and turn to page 825, we will sing together the first, third, and fourth verse of Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Hi, I'm Mary. When Jenny was born, I was 16 months old, her older sister, and we shared a bedroom until I turned 18 and went off to college. The entire time we were growing up, we always had one thing that was a staple, always there, and it was music. Jenny practiced piano in the morning, and we took turns practicing piano, and then school started quite late at 9 o'clock. By that time, if we had picked up second instruments, Jenny was practicing her cello, and I was practicing my violin, and it went on and on for years. When we were in elementary school, we had the fortune of having a fabulous music program, and I have to credit one elementary school teacher, Zelma Kreider, for instilling in us a love of music. Jenny loved to sing. She sang around the campfire. She sang Girl Scout songs. She sang in various choirs. We sang in the choir at the at the Red Brick Church, Point Loma Community Presbyterian Church in San Diego. So music was always there, and it got us through all kinds of trials and tribulations. I didn't completely appreciate Jenny's gift until I left for college. I went to UCLA, and I was majoring in music, and after the first year, I came home to San Diego, and I said, the other people who survived the first freshman year in this horrendously difficult music theory class, they all have what I thought was perfect pitch. I've since learned it's a little different definition, but I said, I'm one of only 2 people in the class who cannot identify a musical note. The professor would play the note, and I had to write down the dictation, and you have to sit at your desk and write down what he's playing. And 8 of us survived that class. At the end of the year, there were 8 left. And so I came home and I said, Jenny, there's this phenomenon where somebody can play a note on the piano and the other person can tell you what the note is without seeing the piano. And Jenny said, you can't do that? And I wanted to scream. And I thought she was kidding. So she's on the other side of the living room, and I'm sitting at the grand piano, and I'll never forget it. I played a note, and she says, that's an E flat. Thanks, Jenny. So Jenny's gifts were more than I knew until that moment. But I have a poem to read that speaks to how the power of music can help us get through times. My arm's not long enough. Sometimes the mist overhangs my path, and blackening clouds about me cling. But oh, I have a magic way to turn the gloom to cheerful day. I softly sing. And if the way grows darker still, shadowed by sorrow's somber wing, with glad defiance in my throat, I pierce the darkness with a note. And I sing, and I sing. I brood not over the broken past, nor dread whatever time may bring. No nights are dark, no days are long, while in my heart there swells a song, and I can sing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Sharon Premzik, and Jenny was a dear, sweet friend of mine. We first met here at DCC back in the 1990s when our kids were little. I'm tall, aren't I? We enjoyed many of the same activities and had a shared sense of values. And those commonalities carried us through one of the richest and most loving friendships of my life. Over the last year, I got to spend some especially precious moments with Jenny, full of laughter and tears and meaningful conversations. Her illness really brought into focus the blessing of spending time together, and it reminded us to keep focused on what really matters in life, to live in the moment with our hearts full of love, in awe of nature, and in gratitude for simple pleasures. Here at DCC, Jenny taught Sunday school in the 3s and 4s room. She enjoyed all-comers gatherings, dinner groups, a couple of informal groups of women that gathered monthly, and she really deeply treasured the relationships with each of the women in each of those groups. She sang in the DCC choir on and off over the years as time permitted. And fairly recently, she became a Stephen minister. She shared with me how fulfilling that role was. And that wasn't at all surprising, because she's one of the most relational people I've ever known. She just had such a big heart, and she empowered people, she cared for people, she supported them in a deep and meaningful way. She loved seeing people around her grow. Well, as you know, Jenny was highly intelligent and well-educated. She told me about how she had decided to become a teacher after graduating from UCSD. She said she was driving in her car north, her possessions loaded in the back, when she had a sudden realization that she should become a lawyer, not a teacher. So that's what she did. She withdrew from the credential program and went to law school here at UC Davis. True to character, her motivation wasn't to get rich or for any kind of wielding of influence. She wanted to make the world a better place, which is why she decided on environmental law and became employed by the state of California to work in that field. She cared deeply for nature, and she was involved in the cleanup and restoration of numerous environmental projects. As you probably know, Jenny took a little break from her career as a lawyer to open a business called Outdoor Kids. It was an online business that she started because she had been very frustrated that she could not find high-quality wool hiking socks for her kids. I mean, what are you gonna do, right? You better start a business. So she developed a website with the help of her brother and was in on the early days of selling products online, specifically outdoor clothing and equipment. And in her spare time, somewhere along the way, she also opened up Outdoor Davis, a brick and mortar store downtown. She really took great joy in providing access to high quality outdoor products locally and across the country. But I felt that as a business owner, what she really took joy in was supporting her employees and watching them grow. Jenny ultimately realized that she couldn't compete with Amazon and she needed to return to her career as a lawyer, which is when she went to work back for the state again in Covered California's unit doing the important work of employment law. She had a real sense of justice, and she understood how important accountability is to a functioning government and society. But I got the sense that what she enjoyed most about utilizing her attorney skills was guiding her friends and family through legal situations, advising them, counseling them, supporting them, and protecting them, always out of the goodness of her heart and as an expression of love and connectedness. Jenny loved music, as we've already heard about, and she was a huge supporter of music in the local schools. When the schools stood to lose their funding for the elementary school music program, she stepped up in a big way to help lead the local Save Our Music effort and ensured that the upcoming students would have an opportunity to learn an instrument at an early age, because she knew how important that was. She was a musician herself, as we've already talked about. And she encouraged me. Well, actually, she more foolishly talked me into trying my hand at the violin, which was a little bit of a disaster. But to be honest, neither one of us. She was playing the viola at the time, and I was playing the violin, and we neither one of us got particularly good at those challenging fretless stringed instruments, but we did have a fun time trying. And we even joined a couple of local groups that were open for beginners. So, as she liked to say, it was a real hoot. Sometimes we would get together just to practice, and that was hilarious too. But mostly, that precious time was just about deepening our connections. Practicing was just an excuse to get together and share about our current challenges and successes, to listen to and support each other, because she was an absolute gem of a friend. And I think her kids would say she was also an absolute gem of a mom. She loved you guys so much. She enriched their lives by providing them awesome opportunities to explore nature, learn about other cultures and history. She traveled extensively with them, and she engaged them in the trip planning from a very young age. She advocated for them in school, and she encouraged and supported their friendships. She drove them to their music lessons, youth symphony rehearsals in Sacramento, and she supported their various athletic endeavors. She led Girl Scout troops. That's a huge undertaking for a working mom. And she didn't just do the easy stuff. She took the troops on backpacking trips to Europe. These are endeavors that require that she attended extensive training and filled out extensive paperwork. And honestly, she was way more qualified than any of those trainers. So the Girl Scout motto is be prepared, and that was Jenny. She always was prepared. No matter where she was hiking, she always carried a heavy backpack. It's like, Jenny, what are you carrying? Well, she was carrying extra clothing, extra water, every kind of first aid device you could ever possibly need, something for any eventuality. She was always the most prepared. And that's not just when she was hiking with kids. She would do that when she was hiking with adults, too. I tried to tell her, I can carry my own stuff. She'd say, but you get cold. Well, that's on me. Jenny was a huge fan of camping and backpacking. She talked about how much she enjoyed family reunions at the campgrounds in the beloved Sierras, where she eventually bought a cabin. And after the kids had grown, she upped her backpacking game to include those month-long expeditions, hiking around Yosemite and Mount Whitney, among other places. One of Jenny's favorite causes was Seeds of Learning. It's a nonprofit organization that coordinated trips for people to go down, travel together to Nicaragua to help build schools. And I was fortunate enough to be on one of those trips with Jenny. And oh my, she was absolutely in her element there. She and Nikki led that trip with such capability, kindness, empathy, and gentle strength, making it a very memorable experience and educational as well. She was fluent in Spanish, as Carol talked about, and she just loved connecting with the local people. She wore her beautiful ear-to-ear grin across her face that entire trip, except perhaps for a few of the hours when each of us was visited by the turista, all as a group. I think it was a little bit yikes. Under Jenny's guidance, her family went all out for community events like building floats for the 4th of July parades. Their house was adorned with fun decorations for every holiday occasion. She adored the community celebrations. She joined Oddfellows, where she looked to deepen connections with community members. And she loved getting together for casual game nights or movie nights with friends and taking trips to each other's cabins. She would probably be the first to say that she wasn't much for cooking, confessing that they had subsisted on night after night of spaghetti topped with a jar of sauce when camping in Europe. Is this right? Yeah. But I can tell you that she actually made delicious breakfast potatoes, roasted Brussels sprouts, baked salmon, and salads. Jenny had such a wealth of friends, relatives, colleagues, so maybe it's not surprising that she had like 16,000 visits on her CaringBridge site, but it's a lot of connections she had, and I think everyone felt moved by their relationship with Jenny. So I just wanted to share a few of the comments from that CaringBridge site. This is what people said. She's 1 in a million. She's the spunkiest gal I've ever known. She had a funny, joyful spirit and was so easy to love. She had such a bright light and brought so much joy into the world. I've never met someone who emanated love and empathy like her. She was such a positive force of nature. Her lovely spirit of enthusiasm, intellect, and love was a gift to us all. We are all better for knowing her and having the opportunity to bask in her intelligence, humor, strength, friendship, and adventurous spirit. And one of my personal favorites, she made us all feel like we were her best friend. It was so true. I remember an occasion many years ago, one of the kids' pets had died. I think it was a rabbit. And she was trying to figure out how to talk to the kids, what to say about that. So we were talking about that, and I suggested that maybe there's not much explaining that needs to be done other than to say that the bunny's time had come, even if we weren't ready for that or expecting it, and that the timing's not something that we get to control. That's sure true. And that even though we're very sad, we will carry on. She said that the kids accepted that explanation of their bunny's untimely passing, and it went much smoother than she expected. Well, now that Jenny's time has come, it's probably not going to go quite as smoothly as all that, but we will carry on like she would want us to do, and like she modeled all those years ago. So, although I'd rather have her by my side here on the many adventures we'd planned for our golden years, I'll have to be content with carrying her in my heart. But I'll never forget her, my dear, sweet friend Jenny.
Every songbird has its own unique song, and yours is a favorite. Would my first steps be as hasty, if not for its tempo? Would my spirits be as high, if not for its key? Your song walked with me as I grew up, like an underscore lifting me. And I have always listened, and I always will. For no matter how quiet your tune gets, as the years go on and time passes, even if it fades out to a gentle hum, the echo of your melody will continue to guide me and shape me into the man that I will become. So although you aren't here to sing it, the beat of your song will continue in our hearts. Its steady rhythm will keep us on track. And now every time I hear a songbird's song, I will think of you, and I will sing back. That poem was Songbird by Georgia Lound. I couldn't write a speech to describe my feelings. I tried. Normal words just weren't doing it justice. I thought that poem was beautiful. It fits my mother to be described as a song. Hers was a life of love, love of friends, love of family, music, and the outdoors. Others will talk about how she made everyone feel like the most important person in the room, like she was their best friend, and how she genuinely cared about almost everyone she met. To me, she was just Mom. A mom so dependable, so utterly present and reassuring, that despite knowing about the likely outcome for a full year, it still came as a surprise when she wasn't there anymore. I still can't quite explain how that loss feels. I'll give it a try. I wrote something myself to try to describe a tiny piece of who she was, what she meant to me. And here it is. A life lost, a song ended. To me, there is a similarity. In life, we get caught up in the swirls of melody. We march to the beat. We look to the next stanza. We ride the highs. We endure the lows. Sometimes we don't appreciate just how magnificent a song we are hearing while it plays. Then, too swiftly, it is over. And there is a lull, a silence. Deafening in its magnitude, crushing in its finality. We stand, rocked to our core, as we begin to understand what we have lost. And only then do we know. We were witness to greatness. I told my mom I loved her every single time I spoke to her over this past year. 100,000 times would not have been enough. She should be here to know it one more time. But all songs have endings, no matter how much we love them. And though we wish we could hear this one again, it will play on through us, a pure tone, cherished forever. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today as we celebrate the life of a remarkable woman, my mom, Jennifer Decker. Jenny was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in June of 2024. When she was diagnosed, she said the same thing her own father, Pops, had said when he was diagnosed with the very same disease years ago. She said, "I just got dealt a bad hand." Pancreatic cancer grows quietly, causing relatively few side effects, often unnoticed until it's already advanced. Mom knew this all too well. She watched her father go through it, so while she remained hopeful through her treatment, she understood the severity of her diagnosis and made the most of the time she had left. Before I continue, I want to take a moment to express gratitude to those of you who helped out Jenny and our family over the past terrible year. To Dana Tilson, who supported Jenny and us kids through her Whipple surgery and chemo. To Louise Lucas, who visited and offered us both the healing gift of Reiki. To Mom's friends in Davis and Markleeville, who lifted her spirits with walks or visits. And to all of our friends and family who provided meals, helped out around the house, or showed up to be there for us while Mom was undergoing treatment. Thank you all for the incredible support over the 11 hard months that Jenny fought. She loved every one of you and was profoundly grateful for your friendship and community. My mom, Jenny, was one of the most active people I've ever known, both physically and spiritually. She was always on the move, usually attending a community event, meeting a friend or several, or heading off on an exciting adventure. Mom loved travel and the outdoors. She spent much of her life camping, hiking the Sierras and part of the Appalachian Trail, and visiting over 34 countries across 5 continents. She went to college, then law school, passed the bar, and built a successful career as a lawyer for the state. She started a family, gave birth to 3 beautiful children, and created a life and a community for herself here in Davis. She even ran her own business for a while, just to prove that anything is possible when you're fueled by coffee. Even when Mom was at home, she was always busy, reading countless books, practicing musical instruments, tackling endless home projects, or most often finding creative ways to make the people in her life happy. Her empathy was both her superpower and her soft spot. When I lived with her, one of our cherished rituals was meeting in the kitchen in the morning for coffee and a catch-up. We'd swap stories and vent about our lives and our work. As a public servant for over 18 years in total, she was my biggest supporter in deciding to apply with the state of California. And even though I sometimes babbled on about trivial work nonsense, she always listened with genuine interest and attempted to offer me her sage advice. Perhaps my favorite thing about her was her creative side, which came out especially around the holidays. Halloween was her favorite, and we threw the most epic parties where Mom would dress up as a witch and give guided tours of our haunted house in spooky character. That love of Halloween became our tradition, and when I got older, we would go on yearly trips to Evangeline's costume mansion in Sacramento to geek out about the decorations and costumes. Jenny adored being a mom more than anything in the world. She reminded me, Anna, and John of her love of us every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And that love extended beyond just us. Many of our friends came to see her as a second mom, too. We sometimes compared her to Mrs. Weasley from Harry Potter, a compliment that always made her proud. For Christmas one year, I made her a replica of Mrs. Weasley's enchanted spoon clock. It was probably the ugliest thing I've ever made, but Mom adored it. She put it up high in the kitchen for everyone to see and proudly refused to take it down. Beyond love, she was there for us. When I was little, I had severe asthma. I needed nightly treatments with a nebulizer machine, and those medications made me really jittery and kept me awake. And every night, Mom would sit with me, reading me bedtime stories until I finally fell asleep. She acted as our nurse when we were sick, our therapist when we had a bad day, our teacher in life, and as our lawyer on more than one questionable occasion. Of course, Mom was still an imperfect person like the rest of us. When she was really stressed out, a little muscle in her eyebrow would twitch, and she snored, like earthquake-level loud snoring. She woke herself up on more than one occasion. Perhaps the flaw we teased her about the most was her handwriting. She told me on several occasions that when she was young, the only D that she got in school was in penmanship. And she was so mad, but she couldn't blame her teacher because even Jenny couldn't read her own handwriting sometimes. Maybe that's why when she discovered text messages, she embraced them fully and got into the habit of sending long, lovingly crafted essays, usually punctuated by a series of emojis. This was always funny to me because as an English major, she was passionate about writing and grammar. When I was a kid, she would sit with me for hours, going over my school essays until they were completely polished. She would tell me, be more descriptive, add detail, use bigger words. And when she discovered texting, I turned the tables on her, saying, you can be less descriptive, Mom. That's too much detail. Use acronyms. But to me, those messages are representative of who she was. She poured her heart into everything that she did, and especially into her relationships. So much of her lives on, in me, in my siblings, and in all of you. Her kindness, her silliness, her strength, and her compassion. I want to leave you with some of Jenny's own words, written on Caring Bridge after her Whipple surgery, when we found out her cancer would likely return. She said, my advice to myself and each of you, live every day like it's the last. Love fiercely, appreciate family and friends, those things we can control, right? Love you all dearly, Jenny. Jenny taught us what really matters, honoring the treasures of nature, building community, and loving our friends and family. We can't control what life throws our way, but we can choose to use our time wisely and be grateful every day. I feel so lucky to have been raised by such an amazing woman. I will carry her with me through all of life's adventures. Thank you for everything, Mama Bear. We love you dearly too.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna, Jenny's eldest daughter. She would call me her favorite first daughter, with Laura naturally being her favorite second daughter and Megan being her favorite daughter-in-law. First, I wanted to thank all of you for being here today, especially those who traveled long distances to attend, with the record holder, I think probably being the Premziks, who got in last week sometime from somewhere in the South Pacific. This past year has been an extraordinarily rough one for our family, but I know my mom felt so much love from you all, and she derived a lot of comfort from that support. And we, her kids and family, are feeling that love here today. I also wanted to take a moment to thank all those at DCC for helping us put this service together. My mom's friends for ushering, Heather Smith, Sharon and Rich Premzik, John and Natalie Peroy, the staff at DCC, Kate Boxeth and Deborah Joy, Reverend Wes Nordman, music minister Emma Turnbull, and our fantastic organist, Michael Glick. And much appreciation to everyone who contributed food to the reception we're gonna have right after this. And finally, a huge thank you to Agnes and the DCC choir for contributing their musical talents, which, as we've heard, were a favorite of my mom's numerous hobbies. Now, what do I want to leave you with about my mom? Well, I could go on forever about all the things I loved about her, all her talents and accomplishments, and all the little quirks that drove me crazy. But above all, I want to leave you with what she would want us to remember about her life, and what she would hope for all of us in her absence. My mom was one of the bravest people I have ever known. It takes a lot of guts to pack up a car with 3 kids under 15 and drive through Mexico on your own in search of toucans and spider monkeys, whale sharks and flamingos. It's even more impressive when you get a flat tire on said road trip in the middle of nowhere and manage to not lose your cool, other than the occasional famous eyebrow twitch. Then this last year, I saw again how she was so strong and brave, facing a terrifying diagnosis that she knew all too well was likely to end in her life being cut short. But she faced every chemo session with determination and continued to live life to the very last second. My mom was also one of the most caring people I have ever met. She always took in strays, including 2 cats, a dog, several chickens, and a tortoise that wandered across our front lawn one day. And she fondly adopted many of me and my siblings' friends as her own, including feeding us during our insatiable teenage years. But thank goodness for Costco-sized portions. My mom volunteered to serve the Davis community every chance she got, her favorite being the Odd Fellows pancake breakfast, where kids got to see Santa, and she got an excuse to wear one of her many holiday turtlenecks. Even through her diagnosis, she continued to pluck weeds from the state park near our cabin, determined to get rid of the nasty cheatgrass that had taken root post-Tamarack fire. And finally, besides being brave and caring, my mom had the ability to create absolute magic. With a twinkle in her hazel blue eyes and a sneaky smile, she came up with the most incredible schemes. Growing up, the Tooth Fairy found me, even when we were on vacation in Hawaii, with a note on a paper plate covered with hand-drawn hibiscus flowers. The Easter Bunny would visit each year, bringing baskets filled with toys that would magically appear in our rooms and lead us to the egg hunt by dropping tufts of bunny fur in our stairwell. Santa arrived Christmas Day each year until well into my 20s, bringing presents and stuffing stockings to the brim, whether they were the books and video games we had asked for, or the underwear and electric toothbrush replacement heads we needed but probably hadn't asked for. My mom's magic came to life every Halloween growing up, where we would deck out our house head to toe in fall decor, throwing parties that my friends and siblings and I still talk about today, complete with a walk-through haunted house in our upstairs. My Harry Potter birthday parties featured Tri-Wizard tournaments and floor-to-ceiling house banners. She made the most epic cakes too, including a rock climbing one topped with Lego men scaling a chocolate cake and rock candy mountain using licorice ropes for my birthday at Rocknasium. And sometimes she quite literally fueled the magic, like when she agreed to drive 3 hours out of our way to the Frankfurt airport during a family camping trip through Europe in 2003. I was able to get the 5th Harry Potter book at the only store selling copies in English in the entire country at the time. Though, to be fair, I think she knew I would have hitchhiked if she hadn't driven me. Even into adulthood, she kept the magic alive, for me, and I suspect for many of you too. My mom would plan pizza nights with homemade dough and our choice of ingredients, and of course, an ice-cold margarita in hand. With an assortment of friends and family members, she planned epic week-long backpacking trips through some of the most rugged and breathtaking Sierra landscapes. She would marvel in the beauty of the everyday, like the stunning rainbow of wildflowers she found on walks in the bird streets in Davis or around the meadow in Grover Hot Springs near her cabin. She absolutely giggled when we saw California quail and threatened to kidnap them and take them to her cabin as pets, which, don't worry, we never did, but every time I hear a quail, I think of her. Most of all, her big mama bear hugs had the magic ability to cure all ills. Getting off the plane for a visit home and being greeted by my mom, wrapping her arms around me and telling me how much she missed me is one of the things I will miss most in life with her gone. Sadly, her magic reached its limits with her cancer diagnosis. But if you know much about pancreatic cancer, you'll know that most people live only weeks with this kind of a disease, and she made it nearly a year, going out in style, dancing at her son John's wedding, and watching me walk across the stage at my PhD graduation. So in her way, she made magic until the very end. And now she joins the ranks of many other magical souls who have battled this horrid disease, including several of her heroes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sally Ride, Luciano Pavarotti, Patrick Swayze, Alan Rickman, or Severus Snape, and of course her dad, Burt Decker. I am incredibly thankful to the generations of scientists and doctors who have worked towards curing cancer, but boy, do we still have a long way to go. So please fund scientific research. And with that, be brave enough to change the world, care for the people around you, and make a little magic. My mom would want us to remember that life is so short and so precious. Chase your dreams, and when the end comes, take comfort in the words of a famous wizard, Albus Dumbledore. Do not pity the dead, Harry, pity the living, and above all, those who live without love. Because to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. I love you so much, Mom, and miss you more than you will ever know. Thank you.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. You revive my soul and guide me along right pathways for your name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of those who trouble me. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Let us share a few moments of silence, giving you the opportunity to silently thank God for Jenny's life, or to simply reflect on the miracle of love. And now we have the opportunity to sing together once again. You'll find in your order of service a closing song, "This Land is Your Land," which is, and this is Jenny's version. So please stand in body or in spirit and let us join together.
California to the New York Island.
I will now be offering a benediction, and then I'll invite you to join me in an adaptation of the Lord's Prayer that is printed in your order of service. And then I will be escorting the family out so that they may go to our fellowship hall. After they have departed, we invite you to depart and join them there. On your way out, if you would like to light a candle as a sign of prayer and as remembrance of Jenny, there are various candle tables, 2 in the back and 1 here. You may light a candle before you leave. Life is short, and we know not how long our journey will be. So be quick to love and hasten always to kindness. And the God of love, courage, and hope surround us as we travel through this life. Amen. Let us pray. Ground of all being, Mother of life, Father of the universe, your name is sacred beyond speaking. May we know your presence. May your longings be our longings in heart and in action. May there be food for the human family today and for the whole earth community. Forgive us the falseness of what we have done, as we forgive those who are untrue to us. Do not forsake us in our time of conflict, but lead us into new beginnings. For the light of life, the vitality of life, and the glory of life are yours now and forever. Amen.